Have you ever had a conversation that lasted only 5 minutes but somehow stayed with you for the rest of the day? Or maybe for days? One such thing happened to me this week, and I would like to share while we paint these beautiful mangoes. I usually keep the reference photo open on my phone right beside me. Then I take out my swatch cards and compare the colors with the reference until I find the pigments that feel the closest. For these mangoes, I chose Nickel Azo Yellow, Hansa Yellow Deep, Permanent Orange, Scarlet Lake, and a touch of Sap Green as well for some of the greens. If you like to paint along with me, you'll find all the materials linked in the description below. I'll also display the colors on screen as I use them. I'm going to start with a warm yellow. Now, this is layer 1 and we are doing an underpainting. Rather than applying water on the paper and dropping in pigments, I am directly going ahead and painting on the paper. And once a warm touch of yellow has been laid out, I follow it with Hansa Yellow Deep and follow it with a little bit of permanent orange, and then you will also see me completing the mangoes with Scarlet Lake, dropping in hints of red, comparing the reference picture and laying it out. And here and there, if some greens are needed, you will also see me dropping in sap green. So this is an underpainting. We will be continuing the same approach for all mangoes and for all layers. Now I'll share my story. So earlier this week, I walked into my bank with a simple request. I explained what my requirement was to the banker, but I was told no. Nobody shouted and nobody was rude, but sometimes one simple gesture, one sentence, or even a behavior or a look can quietly change your whole day. It can change the environment and how you receive the response from them. So that happened to me, and I left the bank, but somehow this conversation, the mannerism came home with me. It was there while I was leaving the bank, while I was driving home, while I was there making lunch at my home. Even it was running along when I was being with my puppies. It was so on that wherever I went, it just kept replaying it. So many thoughts like maybe I should have explained myself more clearly, maybe I should have stayed more quieter, or maybe I should have walked in and spoken more confidently. All these thoughts were going on, and it was so exhausting. And at one point of time, I really caught myself wondering, why am I still having this conversation when I'm already at home? Nothing is happening anymore. The conversation ended hours ago, only my mind hadn't realized it yet. Let's take a pause now. The first layer has dried, and I'm simply coming back with another layer. This time we are repeating the same process as we did layer 1. Naturally, watercolor tends to increase the value because we are layering it on top of another. And coming back to my story, after thinking about this never ending thought process of something which happened in the past, keeping it alive, my mind was keeping it so alive that I wasn't able to be in the present moment. So instead of replaying everything again, I sat down and I wrote a letter. Nothing dramatic, nothing angry, just everything I wished I had said. I wrote a letter to the bank. I opened the letter saying I thanked them. I explained my request, folded the paper, and the next morning I went into the bank and I handed it over. And here's what happened. It was surprising that the moment I handed over that letter, that conversation I had been carrying around all day finally left me. Not because my request had been approved, it wasn't. I just didn't know the answer yet. But because there was nothing left inside me waiting to be said. I no longer had the urge to share whatever I had it because everything was already communicated through the letter. And what stayed with me was how peaceful it felt to stop carrying a conversation that had already ended. It was a complete relief of my entire energy. I saved a lot of time. Probably the learning was when something happens in your life, a situation which you didn't like, or a situation which is completely incomplete, and it is just left hanging because some conversations are yet to be complete, we often have the urge to immediately say, defend, argue, bring it to a conclusion because our mind says so. But out of this experience, when I took a break, when I got present about this thought holding me back in the past and not allowing me to stay in the present, really gave me a place of awareness. And from that awareness, there was something in me which said, okay, go do this and this will get sorted. But that didn't spark out when I was in that never ending thought of confusion, never ending stream of thinking. It didn't come while I was arguing with the conversation in my head. The solution only came after I became quiet. Silence is such a powerful space, and we often oversee it, but that is the moment where creativity sparks. It's a very profound experience for me. And a couple of days later, I received a call from the bank and my request had been approved. But strangely, that wasn't the part that mattered anymore. Peace had arrived long before the approval did, the moment when I handed over my request. So, the lesson learned is clarity doesn't come from thinking harder, which I really tried to do and failed. It comes from becoming quieter. So, yeah, so this is what I experienced this week. It was a process, it was not easy. But then, when you step inside and take a pause, like we break time between layers in our watercolors, I think we can really generate a lot of creativity and ideas from there, which can help us create our life. The mangoes are almost finished, and I'm just completing the painting with branches and leaves. If you had similar experience or had conversations which were overwhelming and kept running through your head all day, share how did you overcome it through art, and it will help us to move forward. And if these quiet moments brought you a little peace today, I'd love for you to join me again. I am sharing new painting every week. Until then, take gentle care of yourself. Thank you.